Mayor Henderson. It's great to be here to join all of you today. Mayor Henderson's mentioned about everyone. For those of you who weren't mentioned, welcome. Thank you for being here. And David, that's just your volunteer job. I know with the Council of Ontario Universities, we've been working closely in a post-secondary framework. So thank you all for being here today. We're here today to discuss plastic pollution, to discuss our environment. Our long-term competitiveness as a region and as a community nestled along the beautiful shores of Lake Ontario depend on a sustainable environment and depend on the actions we take to combat climate change, pollution, plastic pollution. So I'm really pleased to join the remarkable team here today, and I'd like to thank you all for the work you've done that has culminated in today's announcement and the work that you're going to be doing along our Great Lakes. We know that up to 22 million pounds of plastic waste enter the Great Lake on a yearly basis, and it can account for over 80% of plastics picked up during our Shoreline Initiative cleanups. And I'm pleased to announce today that our government's investing over $375,000 to deploy innovative plastic captures technology that you see right on the other side of the boardwalk there. And that's going to be captured at up to 12 marinas across the province of Ontario located along the Great Lakes Basin, including right here in Cobourg. And I'm really pleased to say that, Cobourg is our first sort of stop, I believe, for announcing the local initiatives, given the immense connections. I mean, as you heard in the introductions, all things tie back to Northumberland and to Cobourg, relationships, parents, etc. So I'd like to thank Pollution Probe and thank you, Chris, for the work that you're doing, the leadership role that you've played, and your innovation in capturing plastic. I think tackling climate change and tackling the pollutants in our source water, in our Great Lakes, along our rivers, etc., really rely on practical solutions, and that's what you've done here. I'd also like to thank Mark for the Council of Great Lakes Region. Thank you, Mark, for joining us today. Thank you for your advocacy and the work you're doing, and really for providing a forum for collaboration and for advocacy to tackle this issue. I'd like to thank, again, Mayor Henderson and the town of Cobourg for their leadership. I know you've been a very strong advocate for standing up for climate change, for taking bold action on the environment. I know we've been held to account by strong advocates locally with Blue Dot and other groups that continually challenge us as elected members to think outside the box, to do a better job when it comes to protecting our environment. So thank you for the work that you do. Today's announcement is yet another commitment on our Made in Ontario Environment Plan. As was mentioned by Mayor Henderson, it's been informed by action on recycling, diverting waste from landfills, led under the leadership of David Lindsay, and as a step in today's announcement, and the announcement and the work that's going to go across marinas across this province is yet another step in the right direction to truly addressing the pollutants that are in our waterways. So again, I'd like to thank Pollution Probe. I'd like to thank you for the work you're doing and invite Christopher up to say a few words about the great plastic capturing technology that they're working on. Sorry.
Me first. Here we go.
First,
in the town of Cobourg. It is Ontario's feel-good town. To celebrate the town's participation in the Great Lakes Plastics Cleanup Initiative. Cobourg's decision to join the initiative, launched this summer by the Council of the Great Lakes Region and Pollution Probe, with funding from Environment and Climate Change Canada, is extra special for me, as this is where I grew up, and even though I live in Ottawa, this is a place I still call home. The town's decision to join this initiative is also happening at a critical time in this effort to protect the Great Lakes. 21% of the world's surface fresh water, not only for today but for the future generations. But many of you won't know this, or maybe believe this, but every year, as David Puccini mentioned, an estimated 20 million pounds of plastic litter go into the Great Lakes every year. In some places, there are concentrations that are higher than the garbage patches that we see in our oceans. As the MPP indicated, 80% of the material that we find washing up on our shorelines today is indeed plastics. These facts are alarming, and the problem has reached a level where researchers estimate that it could cost $400 million a year to clean up and combat through anti-litter campaigns, cleanups, and the deployment of new capture technologies. The ecological impacts are even more concerning, as fish, water birds, and wildlife are becoming entangled in it from fishing line and beverage container holders, but they're also ingesting it, mistaking it for food. Make no mistake, plastics play a vital role in our society and economy, from keeping our food safe in our grocery stores to the production of consumer goods we use daily. But we can all agree it does not belong in the environment. So why are we finding so much plastic in the Great Lakes? In part, it's due to individuals littering, but it's also due to poor recycling rates and outdated recycling systems. It's also happening because everyday industrial practices as well, but also accidental spills. This is why the Great Lakes Plastics Cleanup Initiative and Cobourg's involvement in the project is so important, because it allows us to start tackling this growing pollution problem. The Council and the Pollution Probe, however, recognize that cleaning up plastic pollution in the lakes does not immediately tackle the sources and the pathways of plastic pollution. However, as we focus on cleaning up the lakes, the initiative, working alongside towns and communities like Cobourg, does give us the opportunity to educate people and industry about their connection to the Great Lakes and what they can do each and every day to prevent plastic and other litter from entering the largest freshwater system in the world. Simple actions do matter, and Cobourg's commitment to the project, as well as its commitment to sustainable economic development, can and will make a difference. Mayor Henderson, thank you for being part of what is now the world's largest deployment of Seabed and litter trap technology. I'd now like to invite my good friend Chris Hilkin, CEO of Pollution Probe, to the podium to provide more details about the Great Lakes Plastics Cleanup Initiative and what lies ahead. Chris.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all. It hasn't been mentioned yet, but there's besides the environment, there's another story to tell here. Mark and I are the co-conspirators that created this Great Lakes Plastic Cleanup. It's the largest initiative of its kind in the world. And we both have strong attachments to Cobourg, and that's the reason why we're here today, and it's the reason it's the first place we're making a local announcement as part of this initiative. Mark grew up here, that's why his mom is here, because his mom still lives here. I can't claim to be a Cobourgian, but I have family here that I married into, so I've been fortunate enough to have 30 plus years in this community as a weekender and a holidayer, and thanks to the support from the province, this was an opportunity for Mark and I to give back to the community that we've gotten so much from. So thank you to Mayor Henderson, to Council, and to everybody in Cobourg for making us feel so welcome here today, and for always making us feel very privileged to be part of this community. As Mark said, the fundamental of this program is technologies, and we have one of them in the water there. It's called a Seabed. We'll all go take a look at it in a little bit. It looks kind of like a trash can, but it behaves like a vacuum cleaner. And so what it does is sucks in the water all around it, and in doing that, it captures all the plastics and other debris that's in the water. And an interesting thing is a lot of the comment we get back is people say, but it's catching a lot of seaweed. Well, you know, all that plant material that we capture in that's where we find all the microplastics, all the little tiny stuff. And now technology can't clean up the lakes on its own, but what it does, as Mark mentioned, is it gives us an opportunity to do some really amazing research. So your marina, when they collect stuff, they provide us some data that they can easily put into an app that we've given them every time they empty the bin. But they also, at periods during the year, are going to be sending us the actual material that they capture, and we'll do the analysis. We have on the Great Lakes Plastic Cleanup website, there's actually a specific page for every marina, so Cobourg has its own page, and everybody in Cobourg will be able to go to that page and know exactly what's in the water. We can come and talk to council, we can come and talk to communities about what we find and what we would suggest as kind of recommended actions, so that we're not having to deal with it down here in the lakes, we're dealing with it upstream. The other technology we've put in, we've got 3 of them strategically around the marina. You can't see them right now, but they're called Lena Traps, and they're actually sitting in the storm sewers. So every time it rains and stuff ends up going down into the sewers and into the marina or into the lake, that actually captures all that stuff. And so we will also get the materials collected out of that, and we can analyze that as well. So it's really kind of neat. So we can turn that into actions that are local. We can give it to your MPP, David Piccini, and his colleagues and say, here's what we're learning from all around Ontario. This is what the province can do. If we find there are industry sources, we can go and talk to them about what we expect of them and what they could be doing to address the problem. If we find it's litter, we can do anti-litter campaigns where we can engage people. So it's about capturing debris, it's about science, it's about policy, and it's also about engaging our communities, enabling everybody to do something about this. Because when it comes to plastics, we all know it doesn't originate in the environment. It's a problem that we created, it's a problem we can solve. So thank you to Mayor Henderson and Council, to your MPP, David Piccini, and everybody. There's a number of collective partners that are actually delivering this thing, who I haven't got to mention yet today, but to deliver this across the Great Lakes requires a lot of organizations. We can't do it ourselves. So we're working with, the analysis is being done by folks at the University of Toronto's trash team. The outreach, they bring all the marinas on board, is done by Boating Ontario. We got a lot of initial expertise and guidance on how to do this from Ports Toronto. We're the first people to do this in the province. And we have a number of other partners that are coming on board to help us deliver this. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to all of you for being here today. And turn it back to you, Mayor Henderson.
I'm going to be very careful not to repeat the wonderful news that's been delivered today, but Christopher's quite right. We need multiple partners and organizations to make this work. We're already part of two. First of all, our marina, if you don't know, we're part of the Boating Marina Association. We were assessed in our marina on what's called the Acorn program, and I'm pleased to tell you approximately a year and a half ago, Cobourg was awarded 5 acorns. That's the highest standard you can achieve, and I believe there are only 3 marinas or 3 municipalities in all of Ontario who achieved that the first time out. And Cobourg was one of those municipalities in marina, and I believe that's a real tribute to the town and town staff and our marina staff, because people keep telling us we have one of the most beautiful marinas on the lake. The other program we're part of course, is the Blue Dot program, and that's why our wonderful Victoria Beach is part of the top 10 beaches in Canada in rating standards. And as you all know, the Blue Dot program is an international standard that forces us to abide by stronger environmental rules. But more importantly, at the bottom, sometimes we look at the beautiful work at the top, but I want to encourage all of us to look at the different partners on the bottom, because it starts with the federal government, the Canadian Environmental Climate Program. It aligns with David, his wonderful program, initiative in environmental moving forward and what's happening in the county in recycling, to Christopher's program on pollution bureau. He mentioned the University of Toronto garbage team, but remember, University of Toronto. And more importantly, this filters down to our community, to council, to our citizens, and I believe it gives us a roadmap for the future and the kind of decisions we have to meet to make us a really sustainable community moving forward. So on that, I do wish to thank everybody for coming out on a sunny, brisk Marina Day in the town of Cobourg, and I wish all of you a great day. Thank you.